morning, good evening, everyone. This is Luda Kopkina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News, where we rate AI developments as essential, important, or optional. You can find the articles at gaiinsights.com/articles, and please follow along and let us know in comments what you think. Today, I have Adam, Ankaj, John, and Paul, our regular crew, and a wonderful guest analyst, Karen Pispisa, who is a founder of Moat Builder, but she has contracts with Google, Meta, and she is an expert prompter, teaching models, teaching people how to use the models. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. Let's start with the first article, please, Ankash.
Luda. So the first one that we have for today comes from Anthropic, and it is titled Disempowerment Patterns in Real-World AI Usage.
Another reflection from Claude on the emotional side of people using their product. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was going to give this this is really interesting. Anthropic, God love them, I think we should have more academic research in this area and more governmental research, but we don't. So they've stepped up. And, this thing provides empirical evidence about, some of the societal and human-centered risks about people basically being encouraged into, certain behaviors that are potentially harmful. So in this notion of feeling like they're disempowered. So as the models get more powerful, the user of these models get into habits, or some of them get into habits that are disempowering to them, or, against what their values are. And so, it's this, they have some, over-reliance on some distorted beliefs, or, there's more disempowerment potential. I think this is really important because, there's an old saying that, for example, the Koch brothers believe this. If you control the ideas, you control everything. And so what's happening in these models, because it's so facile to use them on any given topic, the belief system and the value system that are built into those models become part of the answer, and then have an effect on the people. And as the MIT Media Lab study showed, also that people lose a certain cognitive ability if they have the answers, as opposed to dealing with some of the really wrestling with the difficulty. As Carl Jung famously said, thinking is hard. That's why most people judge. And so God love them for doing this. I rate it as important, remembering that important is not required reading, but I think that as organizations adopt AI, this issue of what happens to the quality of our values and cognition in the organization is going to be a central issue going forward. And, they're the only one of the hyperscalers who seems to care at all about this, coming from the constitutional AI. I'm sad that, they're the only ones doing it, and channeling my inner Tim Andrews, and saying, look, we should have much more research on this stuff. But in a world where that's not happening, God love them for doing it.
Thank you, John. Important from John. What did you think, Karen?
I was on the fence between essential and important, and I'll tell you why. As companies put AIs out into the wild, into the public, it's very important to understand that natural language processing can have a big effect on someone who chats with these models and AIs put out by businesses very often. And there's a lot of there's a tendency for them, we know, to be sycophants. There's a tendency for people to over-rely on them for emotional support. There are a lot of dangers I see in, some of the psychological apps that are being touted. And we've had some, very, devastating effects from various chatbots that are for entertainment purposes and otherwise. So here's what people need to kind of realize, and that is to really understand that you're talking to a machine It does not know you, even though it says it may. It may understand everything about your email, your system, but it doesn't know you. And I think like companies need to build that trust layer as much as they build their automations, their financial efficiencies, and so forth with AI. So I'm on the fence for important and essential.
Okay, Adam, what were your thoughts?
I landed squarely on important. I agree with what Karen says, and John as well. There are a lot of people who are leveraging generative AIs in ways other than that sort of human interface for a chat and a connection. So it's sort of a layer down from what would actually necessarily be impacting everyone immediately, I guess. Which is absolutely important. It's important for people to understand it. It seemed actually quite high to me, although they sort of alluded that it was low. They were talking about this severe disempowerment, meaning where the AI actually undermines the user's autonomy. Was like severe cases were 1 in 1,000, right? And it occurs between 1 in 1,000 and 1 in 10,000 conversations. Now, that to me sounds like a lot. When you're talking about you study 1.5 million conversations, 1 in 1,000, 0.1% of those had some sort of severe undermining of the user's autonomy. That, and also one of the interesting takeaways was that number is actually climbing. Like it's actually increasing over time, the rate of disempowerment. So definitely something people need to be aware of more broadly, but especially for anyone who has any sort of chatbot interface or customer or human interacting component to their solutions.
Okay. It sounds like we are landing on important. Ankash?
Yes, Luda. I was between essential and important as well. So basically, I was listening to this podcast yesterday, Patrick O'Shaughnessy interviewing one of the product leaders and investors. And that person mentioned that judgment will be the only moat that humans will be left with as these bots, they go about doing all the knowledge work as they are gaining capability, right? So from that perspective, it's really important to understand how they are impacting human behavior, right? Can a bot tell me or convince me that okay, it is tired and it will not do the work that I am asking it to do, right? Something similar happened to Ashish as he was telling us on the day he was on the show. So I think we will see more and more instances of behavior like that from the bots. And as we have seen in some of the movies that bots change the behavior of the user so much that they were willing to do atrocious things to other humans. So we need to keep that in mind, the level from very sort of subtle things that bots can influence to the more dangerous things that they can do. And this relates to organizations as well, right? So for that reason, I was slightly essential, not just important.
Okay. Paul, I'm actually still important, not essential, because there's no actionability here for AI leaders. What did you think?
I want kudos to Anthropic for doing this, but I had this as optional. I mean, for companies, this is a third order problem. I mean, most companies still don't have all their knowledge workers with employee chatbots. We 80,000 person company, 15,000 person company, and dozens of 3,000 person companies that don't have this rolled out. And even the ones that do have it rolled out, they all see the same usage pattern. If 5% of power users and it drops way down. So I don't know what an AI user do it. And they've got much more pressing issues about executive alignment and business case, and they learn through case studies, not research. I mean, the world is full of this unbelievable, interesting research, but I had it as optional.
Interesting.
Paul, let me just give the case. I mean, I think, having been a business leader in large organizations, you spend so much time on values, and the reason you do is that you can't control every decision, every activity in an organization. So values is a good way to kind of create the environment that you hope that people with autonomy do the right thing. And I think very few people have thought through the implication of the adoption of AI on the culture of an organization. And again, it's important, that's why I made it important, not optional. It's not essential. And the other thing is that most people don't understand how manipulable individuals and groups of people are when you can shape their thinking environment. And this is shaping their thinking environment in the context of what they get paid to do, tasks and activities. So anyway, this is very powerful medicine. And this stuff will radically change cultures of organizations, and what's embedded you have to pay attention to. So anyway, that's why I think it's very practical from that standpoint.
Okay, let's put it as important. Both sides actually have value. Optional from Paul is true. This is not the top priority yet, but will become. Okay, important it is.
Sorry, Lou, just one quick footnote here. I think John's point went riffing a little bit here, because here we're talking about what the model's doing. Think about what's going to be much more proactive. So I have a workforce of 15,000. I want them to think a certain way. So I want to program and put the global context in that they are aggressive or super empathetic or, very sympathetic to the CEO or whatever it is here. So I think there's a whole nother realm of employee emotional manipulation that's going to be of high value to companies coming in the future.
Yeah, it hasn't hit yet, but it will. Okay, let's accelerate a little bit. Next one, Ankash.
Sluda. The next one comes from Contextual AI, and they have introduced their agent composer.
Yeah, it's an interesting company funded by Bain and NVIDIA and Snowflakes. So it's a darling of VCs, and focusing on context and making sure that this is available and creating structures for that. It's an interesting company. What did you think about this innovation, Adam?
Yeah, I know we need to speed things up. I'll say this is optional news. In many ways, if you think of something like either the way you can make gems in Gemini or in Copilot Studio, it's a similar concept in terms of a low to no code agent builder. It's a crowded space. They're a bit of a late entry. We're going to have to see what they can do to differentiate from Copilot. But other than sort of trying to niche or differentiate themselves in terms of focusing on technical industries like aerospace, semiconductor, those sorts of things, I don't really see anything that stands out about this news here.
Yeah, but this is really massive verticalization, right? So they're enabling folks in material science, in specific areas with a much more depth that wasn't available before. What did you think about this, Karen?
I'd have to agree with Adam. I think it is a crowded space, and I think that this has to be proven a little bit. And it is kind of a player that gets at the last 30%, right? So we're looking at that huge boost from contextualizing your data for AI to use and move forward, not just summarize, but really to push the boundaries of what's possible. So I go with optional until proven.
Got it. John, what do you think? Optional. Okay. Ankash?
Optional, Luda.
Okay. Optional it is. I kind of disagree, but I think I've been outvoted. Okay. Optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one, Ankash.
Okay, the next one comes from Wired, and it talks about Google's new Chrome auto browse agent, which attempts to roam the web without you.
Yeah, an interesting piece talking about what would happen with this type of technology. Karen.
Right. So Google has had this interesting development where Gemini can browse the web for you. And the reason it's really cool is that it's not just a summarizer. Again, it's taking action. So it's taking agentic action on behalf of users. So what that looks like is as we move towards zero-click search, these models can now, especially from this one from Google, can now, find a flight, to a specific location for under a specific price and actually book it. So that brings us, beyond what, say, OpenTable can do in terms of booking something to really booking and paying for something. So this is true AI commerce. And I think this has an effect on, will have a huge upheaval effect on small to mid-sized businesses, potentially enterprises, especially those in the consumer space. For B2B, I think this wave is coming. Will it be Gemini? The jury's out, but I think they've got a great chance to do it. So for that reason, I would say this is essential because we're looking at AI commerce in the near term.
Essential from Karen. What did you think, Ankash?
I was important on this one, Luda. I think I agree with Karen that this is a step towards agentic commerce. And we have seen a slew of announcements from Google in January. They started with personal intelligence. They went to VO 3.1 to make videos for mobiles, right? Then they launched their universal commerce protocol, which enables these agentic transactions. And we already see these chatbots doing 72 to 80% of the discovery work for us when we are looking for a product. And I think enabling this browser use on your PC or wherever you are working, right, to take actions on your behalf and then using UCP to do those transactions as well, I think that completes the agentic buying journey for anyone. So from that perspective, I think it's important, but yet to see the effectiveness of this one. And if you just look at the feature, ChatGPT with Atlas, right, and Claude with their Claude in Chrome already has these capabilities. So that's why I was not essential but important.
Yeah, so it's in some sense a catch up from Google. What did you think, Adam?
Yeah, catch up from Google, but I mean, given the broad spread adoption of Chrome, and as I wrote in an article a couple of weeks ago, I said 2026 is the year we become Copilot. And they literally say, this puts generative AI behind the wheel and you in the passenger seat. I'm really in support of anything that's going to help reinforce that message, because people need to understand that they're starting to become the helpers here in transacting in their own life. And this is going to open it up for a lot of people at an enterprise level. I mean, you aren't going to see, Google Chrome controlling your browser necessarily. I mean, maybe for Google Shops, I imagine the scenario, right? It could be looking at your Google Mail and then opening up Google Sheets and taking actions all through the browser. So it is a very powerful unlock, but not an essential one for me.
Okay, important it is, right? Okay, Paul.
Super important category, super optional. I mean, we've seen most companies use enterprise. ChatGPT is turned off. Atlas, that's their agentic thing here. I'd imagine 99% of companies who use Google Chrome are going to turn this off. So it's an important category to watch. And agentic AI is really coming, but for the enterprise, 100% optional.
Yeah, I'm actually with Paul. Because this is not ready. It's very unsecure, so it needs to really advance before it can be used in enterprises.
I'd support optional.
Yeah, so optional, guys. Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed.
Hey.
Moving on to the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
John is optional.
No, I'm important. Look, I think these guys should send a bonus to their lawyers that get them to hold on to Chrome. Chrome is going to be such an important, part of, what discovery happens. It's just, I think it's important to understand where these folks are going and how they look at the problem. Google's the gorilla here. Anyway, important. I think an AI leader needs to understand where Google's headed.
But let's find an article, John, that shows their whole strategy.
Yeah, see, this is like a snippet. Doesn't explain it. It just
I'm with Adam. This is anything. People are not paying enough attention to Google. I'm telling you, Google is kicking butt here. They're a monopoly.
Totally agree with you.
But they're a monopoly. It's like it's like if I were in the oil business back in the beginning of the oil boom, would I want to know anything about John D. Rockefeller? You betcha.
Let me put it another way. Anything anyone does in their browser, they can now automate.
Yeah. No, got it. All right. Since there's such an adamant support for important, that's important. Let's proceed. Ankash.
Yes. The next one comes from Harvard Business Review, and it is titled "Companies Are Laying Off Workers Because of AI's Potential, Not Its Performance."
John.
Yep, optional. Listen, I love Tom Davenport. He's a good friend, all that other stuff. These kind of articles just annoy the living daylights out of me. It's a clear. It's like going to a trainer and the trainer saying, and the person who is doing the exercise saying, well, this is really hard. I don't feel like doing it. The trainer says, yes, very difficult. You don't have to do it. There's no. It's the survey. The idea that, the core insight that people are using AI as an excuse to do layoffs. Look, if you're doing a layoff, you look for any excuse. Is my experience with folks. And this notion of are people getting value out of the AI adoption or not? This isn't a finding that this is a finding that encourages sloppy thinking and sloppy management. And I know it has a survey underneath, but I don't think it's well founded. Anyway, I love Tom. I don't like this article. Optional.
Okay, so John has a negative reaction to this article. Adam, what did you think? And please tell us what it is, what it says.
Yeah, I had to get the copy of it that wasn't archived, and it doesn't have the full details actually. But I read it earlier, and it wasn't very impressive. It sort of left me. Yeah, it didn't provide much. I don't know what to say. Yeah, they're basically saying that companies are laying off workers with the anticipation, not the actual results yet, and that it might cause some problems. And
he supported it with 1,000+ people that they surveyed. So, but it's really in the title. It
was almost more of an opinion piece, I guess, is what I'd say, than research.
And that's why it's irritating. Karen.
I would say optional. I mean, layoff anxiety is already here, so I feel like studying it further is an optional thing to do, especially for business leaders.
It's not just an anxiety. We at Women Applying AI, we do onboarding regularly. And the last onboarding had woman after woman introducing themselves saying, I was just laid off. Yeah. I was depressed after that onboarding. So this is hitting out there, unfortunately, and it is blamed on AI, which is unfortunate. All right. Okay. Optional it is. Let's proceed.
Just last thing. I find these things so silly. If I have a 350-person call center and AI helps deflect 20% of those calls, am I supposed to wait till 20% of my workforce have nothing to do and then lay them off or redeploy them? So it's anyway, and he's obviously not talking to PE firms. PE firms are betting their careers and the money on the other side of this. So it's not even related to what we're seeing in reality.
Yeah, so it's absolutely true. The layoff are happening, whether it's blamed on AI or not. It's just happening. So this is just trying to.
They're going to increase. We got to get used to that. They're going.
Oh, absolutely. But the other side for people who are getting unemployed is not quite visible. They're trying to tool themselves with AI. Where it's going, the new roles are not yet well defined. We will see a mass of new roles using AI in enterprises. We haven't seen them yet. So that's kind of in between. All right, but optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one.
Comes from AWS, and it is a case study about how Totogi automated change request processing with Totogi, BSS Magic, and Amazon Bedrock.
Karen, what did you think?
I do think this is interesting because this is talking about automating a legacy industry. So telecom has been around and it has so much data. However, this particular case study is about automating change requests in code. So it is another code story, which I think makes it optional for business leaders. However, I think the thing to take away is that they were able to automate at a rate of 70%, and it shows legacy industry modernization. So if you work in a legacy field that has data going back decades and decades, this would be worth taking a look at. But I would say overall, it's optional.
Okay. Ankash?
I was also optional, Luda. I think it's an interesting case study, but more coding aligned. We have seen earlier case studies as well. I think there were some banks who were trying to move their COBOL-based programs into the modern languages. And we saw that, I think, 1.5 years back. So not a new case study as such. So optional for that reason.
Okay. Optional sounds like optional. Adam?
Yeah, I'm with Ankash there, or Karen as well. It seemed like there was nothing really new or innovative there, and we, as you know, hold AWS to a pretty high standard on these. And I mean, it just met the bar, but it didn't add anything, I think. So
change requests. So
Pardon?
Change requests are, though, very important field and very important use case. John, agree with optional? Yeah, Paul?
Optional.
Optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one.
Okay, the last one comes from Cohere, and it introduces their Model Vault, your private platform for secure and scalable model inference.
Yeah, so we haven't heard that much from Cohere. It has been focused on the secure environments, and this is an interesting introduction from them. What did you think, Adam?
You know, they want to compete with Azure and AWS. I wish them luck. Maybe for their clients, it's a smart move. I don't know how much of the broader market's going to really adopt it. It's another of these, you know, product announcement into a crowded space optional sort of pieces for me.
Okay, optional from Adam. Ankash, if you can scroll to the little chart that shows self-hosting, multi-tenant SaaS, and then the model vault, that's what they're going after. And then please tell us what you think.
So Luda, optional for me as well. I agree with Adam. They're trying to compete with Azure and others. Amazon Bedrock, as we are already seeing, they are working with Anthropic. Azure has OpenAI. So I think somewhere Mistral also has a similar offering. And now Cohere, they are trying to build their sort of offering. I think they see some differentiation or there is a demand from their clients. But broadly, I think enterprises who are interested in their set of models might be this might be useful for them, but otherwise an optional use.
Yeah, so they essentially what they're doing, they're vaulting their model and providing a SaaS with vaulted experience, so that your data stays in that vault. And for many enterprises, this might be very useful. But it's a product announcement. So, John.
I love the term vaulted experience. That brings all kinds of things to mind, but the definitely optional.
Okay. Paul, agree?
Yes.
Okay. Optional it is. Let's, as we are putting together the scorecard, Paul, any announcements?
Yeah, 2 announcements. I want to continue to share more tips on how to use AI. We continue to see such resonance of that. And one thing that we did this week, which really was powerful, was we have a big debate on how we should improve our homepage. So we asked ChatGPT to come up with the 5 different strategies on main homepage: drive leads, credibility. Then we took that and we put it into Claude and said, create a mock-up from our current websites with our brand guidelines for each of those 5. And Claude created a 3 to 4 page HTML all in like 2 minutes. So now the team has got 5 specific, very different alternatives to look at, and that would have taken hours and cost a lot of money even 6 months ago. So that's the AI tip. And this Monday, our learning lab is back. We're back in a monthly now, first Monday of each week, and Roya is going to walk through Google AI Studio, which is really gaining a lot of traction out there, and it fits into Google has now found its roar. So join us at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific.
Wonderful.
And could I add one thing? Last night, I presented to about 100 senior executives in the wire and cable industry. And one of the things that really struck me was there is a massive need, especially in manufacturing, to transfer knowledge from a set of retiring experts who know how to do things in the physical world and the next generation. And I think AI is going to be a huge knowledge capture and transfer part of that. And this is every single, Paul and I have been dealing with a number of our customers who are manufacturers, and every single one of them has this problem. And so I just want to highlight that, because the real world model stuff that Paul said when he came back from Davos is a big push. That's going to be critical, because this implicit tacit knowledge that is retiring across many parts of the manufacturing base, I think AI is going to be a huge part of exploring that and transferring it and using it practically. So anyway, it is profound how similar that was across the different participants.
And it's thank you, John. And to add to it, this contextual frameworks that we've been talking, like one from contextual AI today, will be actually very important for 2026 because of this particular application and other applications when you can capture the specifics, vertical industry knowledge, and that's what actually the key for using AI going forward. Okay, so today we have two importance and the rest are optionals. Very unusual Friday because usually we have all essentials or many essentials, but that's what it is. All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for participating. Karen, thanks for joining. And we'll see you on Monday.
And Lida, we're well in the 500 shows now. So we celebrated. That was just this Monday. We celebrated that.
Exactly. So we are 505 or something. Oh, 504. So join us, please. Send it to other folks that you know if you feel it's useful. So see you on Monday. Happy Friday.